there's a similarity. There's a pro-style demeanor to it. They run the ball. They're good up front. Lots of good backs. Size across the board. Play action passing game. RPO flair in there. So there's similarities.
Yeah, Jalen Walker won the Butkus Award this year as a guy who took a little bit of a different developmental path than, say, Roquan Smith and Nakobe Dean. How proud are you of him to sort of see that recognition and accomplishment? Was it meant to coach Jalen Walker here?
I mean, he's an unbelievable person. And I think when you're in the coaching profession, it's about helping people achieve their dreams, whether that's the high school level, college level, professional level. And that was something that was really important to him. I think it influenced why he came here because of seeing the results in the past and the ability to do that here and develop as a complete player. And just really happy for him and his family because that's something that means a lot to them and, any linebacker.
Yeah, Glenn, as far as the secondary goes, just what have been your thoughts on the play of that group throughout the year as things have progressed throughout the season?
I think there's been up and downs. There's been times that we got to get the ball down more. Obviously, you're judged based on how you play the ball down the field at that position. And then, you're the erasers in terms of tackling. So when mistakes show up there, like they're more glaring than maybe if a three technique makes a mistake on a play or if a backer misfits something, unless it's egregious. I think that they're a group that has continued throughout this, bowl process, playoff process to work really hard and challenge themselves to get better in the areas that they need to. We've got to do a better job down the field, and there's been moments where we have, and there's moments where we've come up short. And I think that group has grown a lot throughout the course of the year. There's still guys that may be older, but they hadn't played as much, and now they've gained a lot of experience. And that's a position that you only play well by gaining real game experience. And that's why you see a guy like Dan Jackson, who's played a lot of football, playing his best football right now because of the experience he's gained, the confidence he's gained in that way.
Coach Riley Leonard's another one of these quarterbacks who can extend plays with his legs, make things happen in that regard. Y'all played a few of those types of quarterbacks this year. What's going to be the key to kind of containing him and be successful against his game?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that, Riley Leonard is a passer. Not to say that the other quarterbacks that are mobile have not been, but he's probably passing it the most efficiently that he has. His last game was one of his best games throwing the football, being accurate. I think one of the big things that happens with a quarterback who is mobile is that when he extends plays, it places a lot of stress on the second and third level in terms of matching routes on the scrambles. Those are some of his best throws. Guys come open that way. And that's one of the biggest challenges is not just, the ability for the rush to keep him in the trap and to make him make throws from the pocket and make him uncomfortable, but also, on the back end when he does extend plays, because it will inevitably happen. That's why, people want mobile quarterbacks. When he extends plays, on the back end, continuing to match your patterns and finish on the balls down the field because you see like against Texas, there's a scramble play that gets extended and it ends up being a 50-50 ball down the field that we don't make the play on it. And that's a stress that people miss that sometimes. Think about the rushing yards. It's the stress it puts on the secondary when he does extend plays.
Glenn, on a 30,000-foot level on how this defense is done this year, obviously, if you look at the raw numbers, yards per play and scoring defense, it's lower than some Georgia defenses have been recently. Some of it's the schedule. You played some better offenses, but then obviously there's been some things like the UMass game. How do you rate how your defense has done, and do you put any finger on why there's been some inconsistency in performances when it has shown in games like Texas and Clemson that it can play at such an elite level?
I think, you hit the nail on the head at the end is, to meet the standard and expectation of what we have for playing defense at Georgia, you have to be consistent because if you're inconsistent, then you're going to have ebbs and flows. And that could be whether it's in coverage, tackling, execution, how you fit runs. And I think this group has shown that when we're at our best, that we can be really good. And that when we don't, execute consistently, tackle consistently, leverage the football the right way, maybe I cover down the right way, those type of things that we've given up too many explosive plays in that regard. I think minimizing for us, when we minimize explosive plays, we play really well. And, there's a lot of factors that go into that. And, I think that the better we tackle, the better we play the ball down the field, the better we execute, that brings that consistency. And that's what we need moving forward. And when we're consistent, we're pretty good. And when we're not, then there's been some times where yards have been gained or points have been given up. And you can't have an approach of people saying, "Hey, my bad. I'll get them next time." That doesn't exist in football. One play changes the game. And so I think just attacking the consistency piece. There's no exact. If I had the exact answer to that, if we had the exact answer to that, then you'd solve it. It hasn't been one thing all year, and game to game, it's been a little bit different. But I think when we're at our best, we're pretty good, and we just got to be consistent moving forward. Tackling, coverage, all those areas.
You talk about explosive plays. So much of it is like, bend but don't break. You guys were so strong in the red area against Texas. Is that kind of what you're getting at? And I think a lot of people have been used to Georgia. They think in their mind like a shutdown, force a 3 and out all the time. But is a bend but don't break? Is that a more productive strategy, and especially in today's football?
I mean, the goal every time you take the field is a 3 and out or a takeaway. So I wouldn't say that's a strategy, bend but don't break. That's just something that's happened. I think we've done a really good job that when we've given up an explosive, for the most part, we've managed to shut things down. When we haven't, and the drive extended, that's where the points have shown up. I credit to our guys that when we did give up plays in the last game, and a lot of games this year, we've shown up in the red zone when we have to tighten up and make the plays that are necessary. Obviously don't want them to get down there at all.
You've obviously seen Gunnar Stockton a lot in practice over the last 3 years. Just from a coordinator's perspective, what are the challenges a quarterback like he presents?
Well, Gunnar, speak about the athleticism, the ability to move in the pocket, extend plays. He makes you, defend the entire field, and he makes you play honest on defense. You have to account for him on any given play, and it opens up a lot of, those plays we're talking about with Riley Leonard, where he extends plays and is able to throw the ball down the field that way. He does that. You have to account for him in your rush when you're playing certain coverages, and that's a big part of playing quarterback nowadays, making the defense play honest. And I think that's the biggest thing about Gunnar. He's extremely competitive, and he adds a dimension to the offense that y'all saw a little bit of in the past, and we've seen a lot of, over the years.
Glenn, with Gunnar making his first start, how much does that accentuate to the defense that you guys need to be on your game even more as he settles into that?
It's championship football, it's playoff football. It's a 1-game season. I think that we have to do, our part in every game. We don't set goals on defense based on what our offense does. We set goals on defense based on, what our standards and expectations are in terms of the points we want to allow, our expectations in terms of rushing defense, third down defense, red zone defense. So I think it's leaning into, you got to focus on doing your job. We spoke on the consistency a second ago. If we execute and we tackle well and leverage the football, we just want to play to the standard of Georgia defense. The rest will sort itself out.
We'll switch over and take a couple questions from Zoom now.
Charles Odom, Associated Press. Go ahead with your question.
My question was just asked, but thank you.
Okay, next we're going to go to Mikey DeLulu from Louisiana.
Yes. So, Coach, what is sort of like the team's mindset, especially on the defensive side of the ball? We mentioned it earlier. Just has some pretty high highs, and there's also been games like the UMass game, heading into a great offense like Notre Dame. What's the team's mindset heading into that game?
Yeah, you got to do your job. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's the key to playing great defense. Strike blockers up front, tackle well, leverage the football, win your one-on-ones and coverage. Mentality-wise, that's the key to playing good defense in general. And so on our end, we want to be at our best when our best is needed. That's something we start with day one of fall camp, and we address the defense and our expectations for the year, and we talk about being at our best when our best is needed. And when you're in this, setting, your best is needed. So that's the mentality.
Matt Baker, The Athletic. Okay, next we'll go to Bailey Burmaster from Atlanta News First.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious, as you guys head to New Orleans and you get things situated, what kind of leadership are you seeing from guys like Jalen Walker as you get into the brunt of this playoff?
The guys that have led us all year, they've done a great job of demanding the best out of each other. I think that, guys like Jalen, guys like Malachi, Michael, really any of these veteran players that have been around and they know what it takes to be successful in these games. You see them, one, setting the example for the right way to prepare. And, I think that makes it easy for people to follow them. If you can see, if your best players are at their best, the rest of the guys should follow. And everybody knows what we want to do. And I think you have other guys like CJ Allen and guys who've been captains for us, Dan Jackson, Chaz Chambliss. They've been really vocal as well, and they're a focus group.
Yeah, obviously a little bit of a different role this year for Will Muschamp. What sort of impact has he had on this team and this program this year?
Everybody in the building, loves Will Muschamp, and it's been great because he's really followed the same exact schedule, throughout the course of the week that he did last year. Our operation's been the same. I appreciate him for making those sacrifices to still be a part of everything, and that's something he wanted to do. Obviously, there's things in his life and his family that he wanted to step away in some ways, but he's actively. I mean, even when he's not here, he's involved in discussions. That's football is really important to him, and this university is really important to him. So he's been great throughout the entire year, and outside of Will's a comedian. So outside of occasionally when he's not there, bringing light of some situations, that I would say that's the time that you don't see him the most because Will can make anybody crack a smile in even the most dire situations.
What kind of development have you seen from KJ playing as big of a role as he has as a freshman?
And speaking of the back end, it's a really challenging position. There's so much more beyond, covering people, leveraging the ball, understanding the defense. There's a amount of pressure that goes into that, and there's nothing that can simulate being out there in live games, lights everywhere, cameras, packed stadiums, and I just think his poise and his composure in those moments has grown as he's gained experience. He's obviously a talented, individual, and he's earned the right to be out there, but he's made some really big plays, and I think he's just a calmer demeanor, which is there's nobody gets to Georgia without being a good football player, right? But the experience that takes you from nobody gets to Georgia without being a really good athlete. But I think sometimes that confidence, the experience, the game slowing down, people like to say that. As that happens, guys take the next step. And I think throughout the course of the year, the game slowed down a bit for him, and he's made some huge plays for us.
Yeah, I'll ask about your position group, the inside linebackers. What have you seen from CJ and Raylan in year two? How has Smile kind of handled his injury? And the freshman Chris Cole has kind of played in some moments as well. What have you seen from that group all year long?
Yeah, I'm first and foremost, I'm pleased because they're an incredibly unselfish group. We play different rotations, different packages. They love to see each other succeed. If one of them makes a play, one of the first people to celebrate is his other teammate that's on the field with him or the guy from his room on the sideline. So I've been really pleased with just their love for each other. You want that to happen. I think that room has a brotherhood to it. Within that, guys have taken advantage of opportunities, and they've all shown up. They've all shown up at different points. Obviously, Jalen receives the accolades that he did. Smile, I'm really proud of because he's been through a lot these last couple of years, and he's battled back. And I really feel like he's playing his best football here as we go to close, which is what he wanted to do. And it's one of the reasons why he was kind of, shut down there for a little bit. But he's great, and he's practicing as hard as ever. CJ and Raylan have done a great job in their sophomore years, really growing up in a lot of ways, and they've been really vocal. They're great signal callers. They're really serious about how they go about their business, and that stood out when they were freshmen because they were trying to get on the field, but they haven't become complacent at all. And once they've been on the field, they're hungrier for more every day. They practice really hard, and guys that practice hard generally play well, and they've continued to get better. Chris took advantage of Smile being out and helping us in a lot of our third down packages, and he's got a lot of ability, just like Justin does. I think that freshman group, Chris Jones has been out, but that freshman group's really mature, and they go about their business the right way, which, like I said earlier, nobody gets here without ability, but especially at that position, maturity is so important. And being a pro at a young age to being able to get on the field because of what's required of that position in terms of making the calls and checks for the defense, whether it's the front or the back end. And they've taken pride in that.
Hey, Glenn, one more question about Coach Muschamp. I noticed he was on the field for the SEC championship game. If he'll be so again for the playoffs, and if assuming he is, does he have any kind of expanded role because he's on the sideline?
I'll let in terms of Will's availability. He kind of, determines that based on what he has going on. Obviously, on the SEC championship Saturday, he was, he didn't have any other obligations, games to be at, things like that. With Vanderbilt being off, he's going to decide, how he goes about that, and I hope he's, with us. But that's his choice in regards to that. His role, he's been really involved the whole time in all facets of this, whether it's DB play or the defense as a whole. So he continues to be involved on a day-to-day basis, and I would imagine his role to continue to be the same.
When you guys started the season, you had two healthy interior defensive linemen with any sort of experience, and I know it's been in and out. Michael was hurt. You've lost, all sorts of guys up front. How healthy are you now going in? Seems like you're as healthy as you've been all season now going into this game, and how important is that for you guys to kind of have built all of that depth, but at the same time to have all of that experience at your disposal too?
Yeah, it's great to have guys available, right? I mean, availability is one of the best abilities in football, and so like for coaches and players alike. And so there's strength in numbers as you have more guys available. I think, especially the big guys, you're able to stay fresher. And guys, it's just natural. If you're 300 pounds, you're 280 pounds, the fresher you are, the better you're going to give effort, chase the ball, the better your burst is going to be getting off the ball in pass rush. And, I think it keeps everybody at their peak performance longer. And I'm really proud of those guys who had to play games where we had guys playing 50 plus snaps a game in the interior D line that their career high had been in the 30s. And so early in the year when guys were banged up, guys rose to the occasion, and all that experience, I think, has helped us in the long run. And we should, if we're healthy, we should be even better.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, this is our first chance getting to talk to you since you won the Buckus Award. Just how has your relationship with Glenn Schumann evolved from your recruitment to now, and how has he helped you become the all-around linebacker that you have?
Right. It was a dream in the making, having my opportunity to be with Coach Schumann since my recruiting. 3 long, hard years with Coach Schu since my freshman year. Progressing and building my talent through skill set through those many years, and then finally getting awarded the Buckus Award, this past month. It was just a great honor, and it's just a reflection of hard work pays off and dreams come true. We set that goal for myself my freshman year, and having shared the opportunity in that moment with him, it was great.
Yeah, Jalen, I guess you kind of particularly like playing Texas, but what is there a big game mindset that this defense adopts? And then again, in the games against Texas, the Clemson game that you think can help you guys, with the biggest games of the season coming up?
I know our defense will show up for every game, but when big moments are needed, our defense is always there to create havoc and create big plays for our team.
Jalen, I just want to ask you, in playing against Gunner these past 3 years, kind of just give an example of what Notre Dame is going, not to give away secrets in it, but what Notre Dame's going to have to kind of be aware of when they're playing against him and the skill set.
Right. What we've seen at the end of the Texas game or SEC championship is exactly what you will see all year long. Gunner is a confident player. He's confident in his skill set, and he's always determined to make the best plays possible for not only for himself, but for our team.
Stay with the quarterback theme here. Talk about Riley Leonard of Notre Dame just a little bit. Has a lot of those same kind of skill sets. Talking about Gunner and maybe some of these other QBs, guys who can extend plays that y'all have seen this year. Does he compare in any way to some of these guys, and what will y'all need to do to be successful against him?
Right. Leonard's a well-rounded quarterback, being able to pass the ball, being able to use his legs in the run game and just making extended plays as well. Things like that, what we worked on throughout the time of us working on Notre Dame is just, containing him in the pocket. He's a scramble quarterback, as you saw in the Indiana game. They had many opportunities to take him down, but, he used his legs and mobility to, get out those situations that helped them out on their end. So those things like that, honing in our craft of containing a quarterback and following our game plan.
Hey, gentlemen, we're kind of in the traditional bowl break, even though this is a CFP game. Pros and cons to that. maybe get healthy, get a little rest? Are there any cons with timing or anything like that? What are the pros and cons of just having this break? Both teams have had it. They've actually had one more week because you guys had a conference championship game.
Right. Pros, of course, getting your legs back underneath you after a long regular season. And then, for us, I guess it was a pro for us of being able to compete in the conference championship. But that break for us, got us better of mindset wise, mentally wise, physically wise, of just getting back underneath ourselves and following our game plan and giving time to just come back to reality of regular season is over. It's postseason, and we have to do what we do. It's do or die at this point in time of in our postseason.
Yeah, in the 2 wins over Texas, y'all had, I think, 13 sacks and 25, 26 tackles for loss. I guess as you go forward, what are the keys to maybe, like you said earlier, creating that havoc on a more consistent basis?
Right, just sticking into our game plan. I feel like the defensive staff does a great job of putting us in positions to be able to do these things, and of course, we have a talented group of defensive players as well, just competing and executing. That's all we have to do, and success comes our way.
You guys get 3 weeks off from playing a game. I think tackling is always a concern when you come off a break like that. How do you guys stay sharp with that during these practices and get after it? And what role do you play in keeping everybody getting after it?
Right. Of course, bowl season time, you get that break and tackling does go on decline. But thing is, we practice. We always have to practice on thudding, getting our good contact in, being able to create situations of in-game situations. That's what we do at practice, having our opportunities to go against our offense every day, thudding our running backs, thudding our wide receivers, just being able to play in space. That's what the game comes down to, and just being able to hone into our craft, just tackling well. That's what we have to execute on.
Any other in-person questions?
Jalen, obviously a lot of guys on the team have quote unquote big game experience. What are some of the ways where that matters in games like this, where you do have a lot of guys who have played in these type of contests?
Right. We've been there. We've seen the outcomes of the game, both win and loss. We know how to embrace the crowd environment, embrace the environment just going on. I feel like for me now, every game's a big game. So at this point in time, we just have to go within the system and play football.
Jalen, what's your impressions of Notre Dame's running backs in particular? What kind of challenge do they present? And what have you seen from film from them?
Right, talented group, very talented group. Those guys are explosive, and the way we have to contain them is prevent them of becoming explosive runners. Playing our gaps. They're very talented gaps. They get into the seams, they get into those gaps, they see it, and we want to see it before they do. And be strong up on the defensive line, our front seven, and be strong at inside backer as well. Just reading and keying well.
Okay, at this point, we're going to switch over to a couple Zoom questions.
Okay, we'll start it off with Charles Odom, the Associated Press. Charles.
Jalen, I'm sure you take pride in the legacy the standards that have been set by recent Georgia defenses. But how difficult is that to live up to, especially with the schedule you guys have played this year?
Right. Every year is a challenging year for our defense, or every year is a challenging year for our team. Everybody will give Georgia their best shot. And of course, we don't really dwell on past defenses because this is our team now. And those guys are far gone and playing either NFL careers or in life somewhere. But we always pride ourselves of making this team memorable, this defensive squad memorable, because we're on it and this is what we can control now.
Okay, next we'll go to Bailey Burmaster from Atlanta News First.
Jalen, I wanted to ask you specifically about Dan Jackson. What have you seen from him this year? Because he seems to be someone that just keeps evolving in this defense and coming up big for you guys.
Right. Dan being our older player on our team, our veteran player on our team, he does a great job of just keeping our standard alive. He does a great job of leading the DB room. He does a great job leading the defense, being a vocal aspect, a part of this team. And of course, executing when it comes down to those moments when we need it. Dan's been a great player for this year. He's been doing his job on the defensive side and can't wait for us to continue the postseason run.
Kip Adams, 24/7 Sports.
I do not have a question.
Okay, next we'll go to Mickey DeLulo from Louisiana. Okay, Matt Baker, The Athletic.
Jalen, I know those guys up front do a lot of work to free up. Can you talk about specifically Michael and what he's meant up front and just how much attention he gets from opposing teams from what you've seen?
Right, he makes my job a lot easier, a way lot easier. Had him having that attention, as you said, given to him, it leaves me free a lot of times, or vice versa. I get the attention, he gets the shorter end of the stick. We just complement each other by, I feel like it runs deeper than just football. I've been with Michael for the past 3 years. He's one of my brothers to this day, and it will always be like that. We have a relationship and mindset of when we get onto the field, we work together. As we work together, it creates opportunities just not for me, not just for him, for everybody. We dwell off each other and we feed off each other's energy.
Jalen, this year y'all have done well, tended to do well when you limit explosives. But Texas did get a lot of explosives, but then you stopped them in the red area. Was that a sign of growth, maturity maybe for this year's defense?
Right. I think it is. We get better week by week, as we've been saying. You can see each week by week. Of course, the rematch of our game. Everybody planned accordingly. Game plans adjust and change, and I believe they did a great job of doing that. But I feel like we did a better job of going into halftime, getting our adjustments and capitalizing on our mistakes and what led to explosive now.
Thank you, Jalen.
Thank you.
Together, and he was saying it runs deeper than football. Can you talk about your guys' chemistry both on and off the field and how you guys gauge what the other team's trying to do to neutralize you?
Yeah, that's my brother. Like we with each other almost every day. We constantly chill, like at each other's house, playing the game and talking ball and watching football. Like we watched the game last night, and yeah, it just goes to show like we're close and we work on things together.
You and Gunnar were both in the 2022 recruiting class together. Just what were your initial impressions of Gunnar, and then having played against him in practice all these years, what does he sort of bring to this team and bring to the field as the team's potential starting quarterback?
I say a calm, steady hand. I feel like Gunnar has a team behind him right now, and we believe in his ability and his ability to come in and get the job done and do what we need. So that's what I believe Gunnar has.
Yeah, in the two games against Texas, y'all had a bunch of sacks, a bunch of tackles for loss. What are the keys to, I guess, being more consistent in that area against Notre Dame and against maybe future opponents to getting more sacks, tackles for loss, disrupting the opposing offense?
Kind of just focusing in and doing what we need to do up front and yeah, up front and like film study and game planning wise. That's all we can do to help be more consistent with that. Just keep doing what we're doing.
How do you battle through or just kind of stay mentally sharp when you got two guys on here, when you know from the jump that every team you play's got a game plan for you? How do you stay hungry knowing that they're accounting for you with extra personnel?
No, because I don't really worry about that. I just go out there and try to execute my job to the fullest. Go out there and just play football. And if they come, they come. Two on me, somebody else free. As long as we make the play as a defense, hey, I'm happy with that.
I asked Jalen this a second ago about so many guys on the team. Really, everybody now has that that big game experience. What are some of the ways that having that kind of experience can help pay off in a game like this?
Uh, Having that type of experience, I say it pays off because you kind of know what to expect from an environment standpoint, and you kind of know like what type of environment it's going to be, and it's going to be a physical, hard-nosed game, and you kind of prepare for it. So that's how it helps having that experience.
Got no requests in the room right now?
you seen from Jalen when you talk about his career arc or his path? I mean, your name's kind of been out there, from the time you stepped on the field, but he's kind of emerged now into that star role. How have you seen him grow?
Just constant hard work and dedication. Like this is somebody that comes in every day. Is the same person every day, and he puts the same work ethic forward every day. So that's all I've seen from him, just consistency, and that has just been paying off for him. Yeah.
All right, let's switch to questions on Zoom.
All right, first up, we'll go with Bailey Burmaster from Atlanta News First.
Michael, I'm curious, given the bye week, just how do you feel a little downtime has given this defense time to get healthy, and how does your body feel as you guys get ready to head to New Orleans?
My body feels great. Thank you for asking. But the downtime has helped us game plan and get some things in order. And we had the time off, so we've been able to kind of see what we've been working with and put some things in order.
Okay, next up, we'll go to Charles Odom of the Associated Press.
A follow-up, Michael, on what you said about Gunner. You're losing the guy who started every game in 2023 and 2024, so that's a lot of experience and a lot of leadership lost. For you as a team leader, and then for you as a leader on defense, are there voids in both areas that you think have to be filled now with a guy making his first start at quarterback?
That's a great question. I wouldn't say there are voids that he can't fill. You understand what I'm saying? Like I feel like Gunner's experience because he sees a great defense every day in practice. So it's not like he's just going to be like a rookie out there on the field. And that's what we're saying. Like we're confident in Gunner's ability.
Switch back to in the room. Does anybody have any questions in the room? Michael?
Just ask about Riley Leonard. Does he remind you of anybody you guys have played this year?
Yeah, yeah, he does. He's similar to his king, but he's different in his own right. Like he's a great athlete, great quarterback. Yeah.
Any last one for Michael? Okay, Michael, thank you.
The biggest thing is like just his energy that he's been able to bring. Even though he's not, always here, his presence is, and it's kind of funny because when T-Rob got here, we said T-Rob was another Muschamp because they've been working together for so long, and he really is. And when Muschamp gets back, that energy that he just brings, and he's just been here for so long, so just to see his face, it's always a good thing to see.
Headed into another big game for KJ, just what's your message to him playing as a freshman in the playoffs for the first time, and what kind of development have you seen from him over the course of this year?
I mean, like his growth is crazy. When he first got here in the spring to now, he's just going to continue to grow. And he's not really a freshman anymore. No one is. At this point in the season, you've been playing, and especially if you've been starting all year, you're no longer a freshman. So, just keep playing how you've been playing. You don't gotta change anything. Don't gotta do anything special. Just be you. You are special. And just go out there and play your ball.
Yeah, Malachi, when you look at the secondary as a whole, Glenn was saying there's been some ups and downs throughout the year. Just as you've looked at yourselves over the past couple of weeks, what are the areas you guys have really focused on to, I guess, be more consistent going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think just being more aggressive all around the board. Whether it's that, getting the balls off people or, coming up and making tackles, whatever the case may be. Just wanting to be more aggressive and have more of a presence on the back end.
Okay, you've been a part of 3 great defenses now. What is this defense showing you? I guess just from start to finish, it looks like some guys have gotten healthy as years going on. Can you talk maybe about where this defense is now compared to where it's been?
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the year, like you figure out who you want to be, and you continue to do that through the middle of the year, and at the end of the year, you really, figure it out. But you don't really know until the season's over with. And like you said, we got some guys coming back from injury, and some guys battling through injury as we speak. So just to see where we're at and see where we can go, and just know the talent and the leaders that we have on that side of the ball. I'm really excited.
Malachi, another question about Coach Muschamp. Obviously, he was on the field for the SEC championship game. Just from a familiarity standpoint, what was that like for him? Do you hope he's going to be on the sideline again for the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, it was good to have him on the sideline. I think that was the first one he's been at this year. So it was good to have him on the sideline because I know last year when we lost, we just kind of talked about it, saying that we wanted to be back in that same position, and just to have him there was a special moment for me personally, but I know for him as well. I hope he's going to be at this one too. Like I said, it's always nice to have him around, and he's part of the team. He always will be.
I know you've talked about playing against Gunner over the years. Just
Mhm.
what are some of those memories and what challenges does he present to a defense?
Yeah, most of them were bad for me. But man, I've been playing against Gunner since I was 5, I think. Um, He beat me every year when we were little in rec league. I got him 2 times in high school. But just he's always been, that guy. Since I've been growing up, he's always been the guy that like, we're going to play Raymond County all day. We got to play Gunner. That's just kind of is, and just to see his growth since he's been here. He's been waiting patiently. He's been sitting, putting his time in, and he's been working while he was waiting, and now he gets a chance to go out there and prove what he can do. And I believe him 100%.
Outside the facility, it's felt like a lull without, Georgia football games going on. What's been going on here? What's been the mood? And then what's your role in kind of keeping everybody, it's not game week, but
Yeah.
you got to keep the energy up.
Yeah, I think it's just being excited. We got a great opportunity to do something special. And when you look at the beginning of the year, a lot of people say we're not supposed to be here in the position that we are now. So just having an opportunity, because most people, in college football, they're not getting ready for a game like this. So just realizing the opportunity that we have and just taking advantage of it and just being grateful.
Can you just talk about how the team is kind of rallying around Gunner?
Mhm.
Not what you see them on the field, but just as a mindset in the locker room, how everybody's kind of rallying around him.
Yeah, I mean he's an easy guy to follow. I mean Gunner's a great guy, very respectful, great parents. I mean he's the guy that you want to lead behind. And a lot of guys have confidence in him, and I think you saw it during the game in the SEC. A bunch of guys believed in him, and I think he's easy to follow, but he also puts the work in, and he wants to be better. Like every day, like he's asking questions, like you can see where he wants to go with it. And I think that's a big thing that everybody loves to see out of him.
What stood out to you about Notre Dame's offense when you dove into it and started to study, what they do?
Yeah, very explosive and very physical. They got guys on all levels. Backfield, quarterback can run. He can also throw. So that's a threat. And the wide receivers, they're really good, very explosive, and they're very well coached. They play an aggressive game of football, and it stood out on tape.
Yeah, it seems like away from the football field, Gunner, quiet, nice, mild-mannered kid, and then he sort of steps on the field and just running guys over, talking junk to other guys.
Yeah.
What is that on-field personality of Gunner like, and why does it seem like guys sort of seem to gravitate or rally around that?
Yeah, I think it's just the confidence that he has in himself. I think you see everybody like having confidence in him, and like when you see him step out and he's running and running guys over or whatever. That's just the confidence that he has in his game, and that's another reason why it makes it so easy to follow him. Because when you see someone like that who's so confident, it's hard to not be confident in them as well. So he's been doing a phenomenal job, and just the guy he is on and off the field. I mean, it's amazing.
This time we'll take a couple questions from Zoom.
Okay, first up will be Charles Odom, Associated Press.
I'm going to ask you yet another one about Gunner, if you don't mind. Based on your background with him, what was it like for you to watch from the sideline when he entered that game and immediately led the team down the field to a touchdown on his first drive?
Yeah, I told my mom as soon as I got back after the game and I went and saw him in the stands. I told him I was like, I don't think anybody's more excited for Gunner than me, other than his parents. Um, but like I said, it's been a long time for him. He came here and he sat and waited and he put his time in, and we have a really good relationship. And just to see him go out there and show what he can do after everything that he's been through while he's here, I was really happy for him.
Okay, next up will be Bailey Burmaster, Atlanta News First.
Malachi, going off of that, another Gunner question. I'm curious, what is something that you could tell us about Gunner that maybe the average person doesn't know?
He's not that quiet. Like, I'm not saying he'll talk your head off, but like he's very talkative. If you know him and if you're around him a lot. But like I said, he can be quiet, but he likes to talk. I mean, he's not like quiet mouse or something. He likes to socialize. So I think that would be it.
Time for another questions in the room.
I got two questions. First, how many times do you think you played Gunner when you guys were growing up? And was that like at Jefferson and Raven County, or was it neutral fields too?
Let's see. 5, 7. I don't know, probably about five times maybe. It was once at Jefferson, the rest were at Raven County. He beat me every year, 33-0. Every year. I don't know why. Except for one year, it was 33-6. I scored, but so.
I want to ask you about Ryan Puglisi and Jade Rashada. What are you seeing from them? As one of them will obviously be the backup now.
Yeah, I mean, both of the guys are elite. The arm talent is crazy on both of them. And just to see them just kind of step up, somebody's next in that role. You see their preparation for both of them. Just those guys, I think they're ready. I think they want to be ready. They want to have that chance, and when they do, I know they will be.
You've played both star and safety this year, bouncing wherever Georgia needs you to play. What has that experience taught you about yourself?
Yeah,
being able to do that.
I think it's allowed me to realize like how versatile I can be. And it's allowed me to like really learn the defense. Not just like from safety or star, but just like from all positions. Because at safety I gotta know what everybody's doing, and at star, I gotta know the same thing as well. But there's more the people beside me, and that really helps me like have a clear focus on the field and like not so eager like to go make a play because like I know where people are going to be at, so I don't have to worry about being everywhere on the field. And I think that's something I struggle with early on.
Time for another question if someone has one. Malachi.
You're a guy in high school that played both ways. You watch Travis Hunter win the Heisman? Do you ever get jealous of that and wish you would have played a little more offense?
Nah, I wouldn't say I get jealous. I do miss being on the offensive side of the ball. I'm still trying to get Bubba to throw me out there. It's probably too late at this time and period, but no, I'm happy where I'm at.
Okay, thank you, Malachi.
Thanks, Malachi.
Thank
you. Today we'll start with Chaz Chambliss. Please raise your hand. We'll bring a microphone around to you.
This is just keeping up with the theme of this kind of being the Gunner Stockton, question asking session. Seeing him that first run, I guess he had against Texas, he kind of got up, talked a little trash before coming back to the huddle. Is that kind of the fiery type of player that he is, or was that kind of added character for him? What's he like for you guys when you're competing on a daily basis in practice?
Yeah, I mean, he is one of those guys that can just flip a switch. Off the field is completely different than he is on the field. He's a competitor at the end of the day. Obviously, when he was in high school, he was one of the best to ever do it in Georgia. And he has that fire underneath him.
I guess I'm wondering about some of the MMA stuff. How much of that translates, and what skills can be applied to football, and what has that, I guess, just done for you personally in your development as a player?
Yeah, I mean, just reaction time, hand placement, location where you put your hands, being able to use leverage and use people's body weights against them. That's basically my job on our defense. I'm going against guys that are always bigger than me. Just having to have great hand placement and use their leverage against them.
Chaz, I just wondered when the season began, would you have put money on yourself being tied with Jalen Walker for the team lead in sacks at this point in the season? And I guess just how cool is that? And does he give you a hard time about that at all?
I mean, I don't really care about the stats or anything like that. I just, when they come, they come. I play the same no matter what. And me and Jen don't really focus on the stats. It's more about just the win at the end of the day. Just both of us trying to make plays for this defense and get us to a championship.
I was going to ask you about, competing against guys like him and like Jalen and Michael, and how does that push you? And when we talk about competition, what are things that you actually compete? Are we just not talking just sprints, but lifts? I mean, how does it work in that competitive world you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, it's not always just competition. It's about always pushing each other too. It's a long season, and we all need each other to push us at times. There's times we may not want to practice or do a lift or run, but there's times that we need each other to push each other and just remind each other that we're doing it for something bigger.
There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk all the time between.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Chaz, it seems like the word of the day for the defense has been being more consistent throughout the playoff. As a defensive front, what does that look like? How are you guys trying to be a more consistently, I guess, disruptive force looking ahead to Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, just staying in your gaps, taking on a double team, not avoiding, not swimming out of your gap, keeping an edge, so that the backers and the secondary can feel off of you. Just everybody doing their job, because when we do it right, I mean, it shows for itself. So.
In the season, sometimes we'll talk about Bloody Tuesday and how intense things get at practice. Now that you guys kind of have 3 weeks off from practice, is it still like that, or is it like that even more? And what's it been like out there for you?
Yeah, we definitely have not had 3 weeks off from practice. We call it winter camp for us because we go back to camp schedules. Practice is like a spring practice or a camp practice where it's more competition based. We don't have scouts most of the time. We're going one-on-ones. We're going ones on twos, and just trying to push each other to get better. We always say it's about us and not about them.
At this point, we'll switch over for a couple questions on Zoom.
Hey, first up, Charles Odom, Associated Press.
If I can follow up on what you were saying about Gunner being one of the best to ever do it in the state of Georgia, and the era of today's NIL, when a guy tops standards set by Trevor Lawrence, that commonly can be reflected by what he walks out to in the parking lot, and he's walking out to as I understand it, a 40-year-old pickup truck. What does that tell you about Gunner? And I'm not saying it's not a good-looking truck, but does that make him different?
Yeah, I mean, he's just down to the earth type of guy, blue collar guy. I mean, if it's worked for him so far, I mean, there's no reason to change it up. He's not all about the flash. He's all about just being in the game and being with his teammates.
Okay, Bailey Burmaster, Atlanta News First.
When you're looking at the tape on Notre Dame, what do you feel like stands out the most about this team?
The speed at running back. Once Love hits the hole, he's pretty much gone. Obviously, against last game, that 98-yarder, he outran the first layer, second layer, and third layer of their defense. And I also have two other good backs, 24 and 20. All of them run really hard, and their offense barely messes up. They're a very disciplined group. They never really let anybody in gas they're not supposed to be. They block who they're supposed to block, and it all comes down to just who's better man on man.
I'll go back inside the room. Do you have any questions for Chaz?
This will be your fourth, I guess, postseason with Georgia in terms of bowl game playoff. Do you still keep any of that swag that they give you? And also, do you have any memories besides the wins that stand out about those trips that you've made?
Yeah, I have a lot of gear. Main thing that just sticks out is the locker room, probably at the end of every single postseason. Seeing those guys in their last games, how emotional they are, and just the handing down of the torch. Obviously, the past couple times we're in the postseason, we've been able to let the seniors come off of the field and kind of hand that torch off to the next generation of players. And those moments are just probably the ones that stick out the most.
Chaz, I asked you about this. One of the underrated storylines about y'all's season is you had two interior defensive linemen healthy. You've been beat up along the defensive front all season long. What is it like now that all of those guys are healthy, and you guys kind of have a full allotment of how you kind of started camp, or maybe even healthier than you were when you started camp now?
Yeah, I mean, it just builds confidence because even while those guys were out, those guys stepped up. They got game experience, and that's just Better for our defense because in the game of football, you don't know who's going to stay in, who's going to go down. It's all unpredictable, and just to have that depth that was created throughout the season is it's just really good for our defense.
Chaz, you were reflecting a second ago on end of the year and seniors and emotion. And I know you take every game real serious, but does this one hit different knowing this theoretically could be your last trip, knowing this is it for you?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really try and think about those things. Just focus on winning the game because if we win, it's not my last. Obviously, we want the last one to be in the championship, obviously. And doing everything to make sure that all my other seniors and all the upperclassmen go out on a good hand.
Any questions for Chaz? Okay, Chaz, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chaz. Thank you. Great job, Chaz. Thank you.